All right, can you see my screen?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay, awesome. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manny Felix. I am currently the founder and the CEO of a nonprofit called AZ Cyber Initiative that is dedicated to creating career opportunities and unlocking educational opportunities for Arizona high school students in cybersecurity, information technology, or IT, computer science, and pretty much anything that is related to technology and STEM in many ways. But more importantly, I was born in Tucson. I grew up in Magdalena, Sonora. So many of you may on the call may be from Magdalena or may have family in Magdalena, somehow be connected to someone in Magdalena. It always happens, right? That's the beauty of where we live and living in a border state. Whether you're on the Mexico side or the Arizona side, there's always some familiar uh, mutual point of contact. And then after growing up in Magdalena for the all through elementary school, I started middle school in Nogales, Arizona, and completed middle school and high school there. So I've always been lived so close to the border, and been lucky and blessed enough to say that I've had two great cultures be a part of my upbringing and has greatly influenced to where I am today and the person that I've become. That being said, I know this presentation is about a point of our lives that we failed, and I thought about this carefully and really, I mean, there's many different times in my life where I felt like I failed in and I've always said that failure is an inevitable part of growth. But I wanted to think of a moment in my life where I felt like I failed that I think has perhaps shaped the most of my life, or maybe to a point of where I am today. And it's hopefully one that many of you on the call may be able to relate to, especially coming from a Hispanic background, or maybe even currently living in Mexico. Um, Overall, just within this culture that we're all very familiar with, and that is with the failure of disappointing your parents, your family. I think that was I so a little bit of context, right? I Ever since middle school, I thought I'd be going to law school. I always had the intention of becoming a lawyer. It was all through high school. It was known that's why I have this picture on the screen right now. This is from my high school graduation at Nogales High School in 2012. At that point, I was extremely set on wanting to go to law school, becoming a lawyer, an immigration lawyer for that matter. I wanted to find ways of giving back to the Hispanic culture, to Mexican families who were struggling with immigration issues as they were attempting to bring themselves or their families to the United States for a better life. I had received so much help from moving from Mexico to the United States, and it opened up so many opportunities that I wanted to make sure that families and students had those same opportunities that I was afforded when I moved to the United States. So graduated at Nogales High School, still with the intent and with the goal of being a lawyer. My parents knew of my goal, my friends knew of that goal, my teachers, my community, my network, everyone knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. Even through the University of Arizona, shortly after I graduated from Nogales, I went to the University of Arizona and majored in political science with a focus in foreign affairs, and also majored in Spanish legal translation interpretation. Again, really cementing that idea that I wanted to be a lawyer, that I wanted to give back to my community, to my people, to my region, as through law, right? Through the study of law and um, through becoming a lawyer. And it wasn't until 3 months before I graduated from the U of A, when I had just finished taking my LSAT, and then I thought to myself, do I really want to be a lawyer? So this is 3 months before I graduated from the U of A, when many people had jobs, they had internships, they had after graduation plans. That's when I started to question my future, my path that I had thought about for over 10 years, that I had my mindset that I wanted to be a lawyer, all of a sudden I started questioning. I started to question, do I want this for myself, or do I want it because my parents want this? Do I want it because that is what is expected of me culturally, in a very, in a culture that is, the professions that our parents talk about are either lawyers, doctors, business, engineers, all the very quote unquote traditional approaches to a career. And I started to ask myself, is this really what you want, or is this what you think you want because that is what is expected of you and from your community? And it really made me rethink myself. But as many of you may have found yourselves in this situation, going against what is expected of you, especially from your family, that is seen as failure, right? When you don't follow through with the expectations, whether it's carrying your family business and then you realize that you want to do something differently, many of our families can see that as failing, right? Or failing them, or failing ourselves. So it was a tough inner and that was a tough point in my life, but it was one that I had to think about carefully and very, um, you know, had to deep, dig deep into what I thought was the future that I wanted for myself. And it was very scary. More than anything, it was scary. I thought I lose the trust that my family had in me for, always wanting to be a lawyer and with all these aspirations and goals. Also, friends and family that had just this impression of me being a lawyer. All these scary thoughts started racing through my head. But at the end of the day, I said to myself, I'm choosing this for me, not for everyone else. And so I decided to go on a different path. I joined the military after I graduated from the U of A instead. And that was a scary process in itself. However, what I thought then was failure, failing myself and perhaps failing my family and failing what my plans were for over a decade, turned out to be the best decision that I've ever made in my life. I took a chance on my future. I what I would say I considered many things, but it again it helped me open up doors to careers and people and jobs that I otherwise would have never experienced, and it's helped me be where I am today. Through the military is how I started my career in cybersecurity. I became a cyber professional through the military. Then I went on to work in government contracting in Washington, D.C., servicing many of the government agencies such as the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, and eventually worked at Deloitte for a management consulting company in their cybersecurity practice. Through all of that, I noticed that there's a huge need for cybersecurity professionals, right? And everyone needs, every company, big or small, requires someone that has a security background in order for their business to grow or their business to continue. And I noticed that. And that's where my if you recall my at the beginning of my story where I said that I wanted to find ways of giving back to my community, that's where and learning what I had learned from within cybersecurity, it all tied together into this next and final step of, well, not final because it's it's still ongoing as I'm continuing to grow with my life, but it's led me to where I am today, right? I started a nonprofit, as I mentioned earlier, AZ Cyber Initiative, combining the giving back to my community and finding ways that are helping students recognize that there's a lot of demand, both financially, job steadiness and growth. There's a lot of opportunity for promotion. There's a lot to take advantage here, and I wanted to bring that a piece of awareness, as well as provide resources and the tools that Nogales students, at Tucson students, Arizona students, and even students that currently live in Nogales, Sonora, they live in Magdalena and Hermosillo, anywhere in Sonora that may perhaps at some point end up in Arizona, whether it's for middle school, elementary school, high school, college, whatever that is, you can all benefit from a lot of the opportunities that we're creating through this nonprofit. So I'm still fulfilling that passion of mine of combining giving back to my community to what I think is my career and the path that I am currently on. Um, Again, that failure, that deep out of thinking that every day did you questioning whether did you make the right choice? Should I have gone actually into law school? Right? All these it's very easy to get caught up in what could have been or in the scary thoughts, and maybe sometimes we choose a more what seems at the moment the most safe approach. But the reason why I chose this topic, the thought of failing yourself and failing your family and failing your culture is because I hope that some of you feel encouraged to take risks and sometimes go against what is expected of you and make a choice of what you think is best for you. No one knows themselves better than you, so make sure that you're not making decisions for others other than yourself. Make sure that the profession that you want to go into is one that you're passionate for, not one that your parents or your family are passionate for. I challenge you to start, rethinking or challenging yourself and reinforcing if that is what it is that you want to do. That's great. But if after 10 years, even after 10 years, you all of a sudden one day wake up and say, maybe I don't want to be a lawyer. Maybe I don't want to be a professor. Maybe I don't want to be, a lawyer or an engineer. Be okay with that. Be open to other opportunities and other paths and other careers. And I know it'll be scary, but instead channel those scary thoughts and that scary mindset into creating goals and finding alternative opportunities. So if all of a sudden you want to go into cybersecurity, then start doing research. That is the power of technology nowadays, that we can find different roles and we can discover new backgrounds and professions that we otherwise would have never known, right? Our parents didn't have that luxury. Our grandparents surely didn't have that luxury, but what we have is that we can find out about new roles, new jobs, new skills in a matter of seconds. So it's okay, and use that to your advantage. You want to be a doctor today, but tomorrow you want to be an engineer. Find out what it is that you can do, right? It's okay, and start having those conversations with your parents now. It's it might sound scary, but at the end of the day, remind your parents that you want to choose a career that is what you want, right? After all, this is what you're going to be doing the rest of your life. And I've heard from many people and from many friends actually that end up choosing a profession just because they want to please their families, but they're not happy with where they are. And it's much harder to find ways to reskill and to change a job as the years go by. It's not impossible, it just gets more difficult. Then you start having families, you start making income, or you start getting comfortable with your life, that it becomes harder to have that change. So the earlier the better. Take risks early on and throughout your career, because from risks, and even sometimes when you take risks you may fail, and failing is okay. Like I said earlier, and I'll always say this, failure is an inevitable part of success. What I feel like I failed for a long time, but now I'm able to see that failure translated into just a big part of my, well, of the success of where I feel like I currently am, and I'm happy. I'm very happy with my decisions up to this point, and so um, that's why I thought it'd be a good topic to talk to you all about. And thank you so much for letting me be here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time and all of your knowledge, Manny. I think that we can all take a lot of knowledge and wisdom from your experience and everything that you went through, especially how failing does not always mean that you tried something and it didn't work. Sometimes it comes to like deeper and more complex forms about how our decisions, we sometimes feel that we're failing somebody else. But I think that staying true to ourselves and not failing ourselves is what's most important, because at the end of the day, you know, we're left with ourselves and with the decisions that we've made and with the life that we've built. And I think that your experience is the definition of trusted process. You know, sometimes things may not be going great as it is of like at the moment that you're looking at them. But as long as you keep working and that you are true to yourself, you're eventually going to reach that ultimate goal that you have. So thank you so much for all of your knowledge, all of your experience, and all of the wisdom that you transmitted to us. And for your time, of course. Thank you so much, Manny.
Of course. Thank you, Samantha, for inviting me. I really appreciate it. And you're absolutely right. Thank you.
Thank you. And now for another great story about failure and learning, we have Edgar Robles. So Edgar, whenever you're ready, feel free to go.
Okay, buenas tardes, mi nombre es Edgar Robles, soy Nogales, Sonora. Les voy a platicar un poquito sobre cómo llegué a cómo tomé el paso del emprendimiento en mi vida. Pues a los 22 años me gradué de la licenciatura de Negocio y Comercio Internacionales en la Universidad de Sonora, aquí en Nogales también. Fue en el 2018 cuando comencé con los emprendimientos, con este tipo de proyectos. El primero que emprendí, el primer proyecto que emprendí fue sobre pallets de madera, el reciclaje de pallets de madera. Con ellos, más que nada, yo era el que tenía el negocio, yo los construía lo que son muebles para casa, para interiores, para exteriores, ¿sí? Duró muy poco ese proyecto, por lo que comencé otro proyecto nuevo. Y yo creo que a los 2 meses, comencé un proyecto llamado Wipe. Wipe era un lavado de autos ecológico. Hubo un momento en el que vi el producto y mi papá me dijo, ¿sabes qué? Estaría bien para poder venderlo. Era un producto con el que lavabas, por ejemplo, un carro con 100 mililitros de ese líquido, que contenía aceite de carnauba, entre otros componentes, pero no le hacían daño a la pintura del auto. Aparte de que le enceraban y enceraba el auto y lo dejaba muy bien, ¿no? Bueno. Y en ese punto, cuando mi papá me dijo, ¿sabes qué? Hay que venderlo. No, dije, pues, ¿por qué no construir un negocio en el que se ofrezca el servicio y a domicilio, que sería como que el plus, ¿no? El extra. Así que lo comencé de cero, así sin empleados, sin nada. Obviamente, pues como todo negocio, comienzas con mercadotecnia, marketing, publicidad, todo eso para dar a conocer el negocio. Hay mucha gente que, pues obviamente, como es un producto nuevo, que nadie lo conocía y yo creo que a lo mejor mucha gente todavía no lo conoce, tienes que explicarles bien qué es lo que tiene, que no afecta la pintura de tu carro, muchos puntos que hay que cuidar, ¿no? Con los clientes. Y pues tratar de convencerlos obviamente de que es mucho mejor que lavarlo con agua, como tradicionalmente lo hacemos. Bueno, comencé este negocio y iba todo bien, todo muy bien, me puedo asociar, con varias personas y pues cada quien tenemos un rol diferente. Pero lo que pasó fue que, y yo creo que no solo en Nogales, sino que no estamos acostumbrados, no sé si por ser frontera o en todo el mundo sea la misma conducta, no estamos acostumbrados a utilizar lo ecológico. Es más la gente que en este caso lava su carro tradicionalmente con agua, gastando 20, 40 litros por lavada, que usan un servicio de ese tipo. Porque mucha gente por ejemplo, me pedían un servicio y sabes que no, pues ahí está la llave o ahí está la manguera de agua. Y yo, pues es un servicio en el que no usamos agua, tenemos todo. Y se sacan un poquito de onda. Pero fuimos avanzando un poco, fuimos avanzando a pesar de esa falta cultural, yo quisiera ponerlo así, del cuidado del agua, del ecológico. Fuimos avanzando, fuimos agregando más servicios, se vino lo que es la pandemia. En la pandemia, a muchos negocios les fue mal, a nosotros no. Pasa que como era un servicio a domicilio, A mucha gente la descansaron en ese tiempo de que, ¿sabes qué? En sus trabajos vas a hacer home office, vas a trabajar desde tu casa y pues la gente se la vivía en su casa y pues tenía el carro sucio y obviamente no quería salir por la pandemia. Pues ahí es donde entramos nosotros, donde nos hablaban, ¿sabes qué? Necesito un servicio de lavado de autos, ven para acá. Ok. Y en vez de ir para abajo el negocio, al contrario, fue creciendo mucho más. Aparte de eso, agregamos un servicio de sanitización, ya sea primero para autos y ya después que vimos que era viable para casas y negocios. Obviamente con sus regulaciones, certificados y todo, ¿no? Y en ese tiempo, ya para finales de 2021, yo creo, hubo algunas diferencias entre empleados, socios y todo eso, fueron bajando servicios y pues como todo, ¿no? Pues fue un negocio que tuvo su fin en ese tiempo, tuvo su fin y ya después yo seguía la pandemia, de hecho en ese tiempo, fue en el 2021 todavía, mediados del 2021, y en ese tiempo vi la oportunidad de los servicios, bueno, más que nada productos de salud, por ejemplo, que se estaba necesitando en ese momento en cuanto a la pandemia. Los negocios están requiriendo tapetes sanitizantes. El gobierno está requiriendo a los negocios tapetes sanitizantes, el antibacterial. La gente obviamente siempre tiene que andar con su cubrebocas. Diferentes artículos de limpieza o de salud que necesitamos todos. Así que se me ocurrió la idea de vender, de comprar en volumen grande y poder venderlos a menudeo, a clientes directos. Así que ese fue el segundo emprendimiento, el emprendimiento grande que tuve. Duró 6 meses, lo que duró la pandemia, lo que duró el COVID. Después, como todavía seguíamos con la garita, el cruce de la frontera cerrado, mucha gente se venía a lo que es las fechas de diciembre, las fiestas decembrinas. Así que mucha gente, pues los que vivimos en frontera, que contamos con visa, usualmente compramos los regalos en Estados Unidos. Por las restricciones que había con la frontera, esta gente, pues la mayoría ya no podíamos cruzar, no podíamos comprar los regalos allá, ¿no? Así que vi la oportunidad también de comprar mercancía aquí o en México o que se pudiera importar y poder revenderla. Bueno, venderla así a clientes directos y también a mayoreo para clientes que pudieran revender en todo México, ¿no? También. Mercancía como perfumes, ropa para hombres, que es la que más compramos en Estados Unidos. Y me fue muy bien en ese año, fue a términos del 2021, para terminar el 2021. Y todavía sigo con ese proyecto, con ese negocio hasta la fecha. Y pues más que nada la historia de cómo fallas en los negocios. Se trata mucho por ejemplo, cuando haces un negocio y falla, aprendes qué son las cosas que te salieron mal para en el siguiente, obviamente que no te vuelva a pasar. Aprendes más que nada que, como dicen, si no, pues si no funciona, aprendes. Así que fue un aprendizaje el haber fallado en ese negocio y como en los demás negocios en los que no funcionaron. Así que fue un aprendizaje muy bueno y hasta hoy sigo aprendiendo con los negocios que tengo, sigo aprendiendo. Ahorita no me ha dado lo que es, pues más que nada el tiempo, la organización de poder retomar lo que es el proyecto de Wipe, de lavado de autos. Es muy buen proyecto, sigue siendo muy buen proyecto. Más que nada por mi trabajo en una empresa maquiladora, tengo ya 8 años aquí y me va muy bien, la verdad, soy gerente de materiales y pero sí me gustaría retomar todos esos proyectos que dejé de lado para en un futuro, obviamente, pues el proyecto este de Wipe es muy bueno porque siempre estamos batallando con el agua, más que nada aquí en Nogales, no sé si en otras partes, pero en Nogales de que nos cortan el agua, nos avisan, sabes que no hay agua, no va a haber agua en este mes o va a haber cortes recurrentes en tales colonias y mucha gente batalla con eso, por lo tanto es una de las razones por las que optamos iniciar con este negocio de lavado de autos ecológico. Y obviamente otro consejo que les daría para los emprendedores, arriesguense como comentó Manny, arriesguense y vean las oportunidades que se les presentan. Vean las oportunidades siempre, a dónde va el mundo. Por ejemplo, un ejemplo que les di, venía la pandemia, ok, ¿qué es lo que más se ocupa? ¿Qué productos se necesitan? Ok, tapetes sanitizantes, productos de salud. Ese tipo de oportunidades hay que tomarlas. Hay que tomarlas, no desaprovecharlas, porque se van y pues ya no vuelven, ¿no? Por ejemplo, este negocio ya no es negocio ahorita. Así que fue en su momento y se aprovechó y ya, ¿sí? Es uno de los consejos que les doy y pues sería todo por mi parte. Muchas gracias y muchas gracias por escucharme también.
Muchas gracias, Edgar. Qué padre el escuchar cómo la innovación y el emprendimiento no es estático, no es algo así de, pues me agarro un proyecto y con ese me quedo casado para toda la vida, como es un constante cambio y adaptación a diferentes oportunidades y cómo el contexto va cambiando y cómo podemos agarrar y aprender de ese contexto y usarlo para emprender e innovar y pues encontrar soluciones a los problemas que se nos encuentran. Muchísimas gracias por el tiempo tanto de Edgar como de Manuel. Ya sé que nos pasamos un poquito de tiempo, pero no, de verdad no quería interrumpir para nada lo que nos estaban platicando y presentando. Fue súper valioso y un honor el poder aprender de ustedes, de sus experiencias y de todo lo que han vivido. Muchísimas gracias.